Checklist.io.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host, Rachel.
And I'm Dylan.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the love languages, the famous love languages. You've seen the books, probably seen a bunch of memes and quotes on social media.
Yep.
So we're going to dive into that based on our experiences and see where the conversation takes us.
Woo, let's go.
Do we want to mention the tequila here?
Yeah, so today we are going to be drinking Tabi Tequila, and
Yes.
it's sponsored by
Tavi.
Tabi. I guess we'll cheers.
Cheers. Sip, sip, sip. Oh my gosh, we record a lot of these episodes back to back. So if you're watching this on YouTube going, they didn't drink it, it's because we've been done drinking it.
And I'm like, the love language, I like to speak with tequila.
Yeah. My love language is tequila.
Imagine.
So Tavi's been very generous. They provided us with these beautiful bottles. You see the one up in front. There's a couple behind us. Check them out at Tavi Tequila on social media. So talking about the love languages, do you know what your love language is?
So I've taken the test a few times and it always changes for me. So, and what I mean by that is like, I think, what are they? Words of affirmation.
She's bilingual. Her love is bilingual.
It always changes for me. Like some days I feel like I need more love, more touch, more feel. Sometimes I think more words of affirmation. And I think sometimes I want to be like I want someone to buy me something because it's like, you know, when they give you gifts and so it's like gifts, affirmation. Do you know what they are?
Well, you want to look them up? So do you have are you able to look them up while we're on the show?
I will look.
I know that it's a thing when people get married. It's actually the gift that I like to give as the wedding gift is the book about the love languages. In fact, there's even, and by the way, they didn't sponsor the show or anything, but you can tag them in the comments if you'd like to grab their attention about this.
They say it's important that you know your love language.
Yes, and so there's even a version of the book that's for military couples.
Really?
And so there was a friend of mine that she was marrying a Navy SEAL, and so obviously he's on these covert missions all the time. And she has a mate. There's two women that I knew that were married to Navy SEALs, and amazing stories that I can't even tell. And so, anyways, I ended up finding these military love language books, which was really amazing. And it was from the same author as the original love language books. And they both months later had chimed in saying this was interesting.
No way.
Yes, and it really helped them out.
So it's one of them is receiving gifts. Physical touch, words of affirmation, and acts of service.
Oh.
So those are the ones that are the typical love languages. So, and then there's also quality time actually. So I think that's why it changes for me. It just depends. Like I've taken the test and I always like, if I'm kind of sort of dating someone, I'll send it over like, hey, take this. And sometimes, well, I mean, sort of dating meaning like
it's the onboarding process.
Like, okay, I just want to know what is it? Do you like quality time? Do you like, touch? Do you like receiving gifts? Because everyone speaks a different kind of love language,
Yes.
right? So I don't know if maybe I'm bipolar and that's why it changes for me. I don't
Not
know.
bipolar. She's bilingual. Her love language is bilingual.
Buy me something. I like receiving gifts.
But yeah, give me a gift while you're touching me and telling me I'm beautiful.
Yes, exactly.
I think for me it is tough because I was in a relationship where there was gifts.
Okay.
But for me, there was a little bit of like PTSD with those gifts. So I always felt like they were I'm sorry gifts.
Without them being I'm sorry gifts?
Yeah, like I never could confirm that they were all I'm sorry gifts, but some of the great ones were definitely I'm sorry gifts. So I have a little bit of PTSD with gifts because it wasn't a normal part of our relationship until all of a sudden I'd get this grand gift and I'm like, what did I do? And so it was a little bit of a just because gift, but then it was because of the nature of my relationship that I had like all the alarms going off, which is horrible. I smiled. I said thank you. I gave the kisses and the hugs, and I didn't show that I was like, right? My Inspector Gadget like came alive. But I will tell you, it's nice getting gifts, but I don't know if it lands with me.
No, I mean, no. I'm joking and I'm making a joke out of it.
No, yeah.
But I will tell you that, the receiving gifts isn't that important. Not as important as, words of affirmation or, physical touch and being with someone, maybe going to a movie, even though we're in COVID and you can't watch a movie, but that quality time is so important in my opinion.
Yes.
So I've had, I send the quiz because I have it in a text format. So I send it to friends. I'm like, hey, I just want to know. Because sometimes they even have like the love language for friends. Because sometimes even though I understand that it's going to be a little bit different when it comes to like physical touch, yeah, you won't do that. I hope not. But at least you could say, hey, you know what, your hair looks pretty or your eyes look pretty. And like for instance, my hairstylist, she was telling me that she is huge on like her top is words of affirmation, and she told me, my husband said, I told my husband, it's my words of affirmation. So the husband has to continuously tell her, like, you're beautiful, you are doing an amazing job, you're this, you're that. So for her, that is her, like, drive.
That's her love language.
Yeah.
I know that in business, so I have this amazing right-hand girl. I hate to say she's my assistant or whatever. She's my office manager.
Yeah.
Her name's Deneen, and she watches the show. Hi, Deneen.
Yeah.
But she and we talk about this in a business setting, and in that she says, because I asked, like, what's your thing? Like, what's your thing? Like, what do you need from me to feel appreciated?
Right.
And her thing is, she likes to know she's doing a good job, meaning so I called her the Golden Star Girl, because when you're in school, you know how the teacher would put a golden star on the chart for you or on your paper, you got a golden star. I never really cared about that. I'm not a golden star person. I don't need to be applauded at every turn of everything that I do.
Okay.
But she is a person that's like, she did something and she's kind of like standing by, like smiling,
Hey,
like,
what do you think?
and then, it's like, oh, great job. So I actually have to remember
That's who she is.
that's her business love language, right? And I have to do that and then I realize everybody on the team has something. I know that for me, I don't really 100% know. I know that I like to receive gifts. I do appreciate nice gifts. And yet you could buy me an amazing thing and it will sit in my closet forever and ever. I love the getting it and like, oh my God, he went out of his way to, and it might literally sit in my jewelry drawer like forever. Like, and that's the part that like my ex would hate because he felt like I wasn't appreciating it. But I love the actual receiving it.
So what would you have preferred? Like him taking you somewhere, him like giving you a hug, him like telling you you're doing an amazing job? Like, because I mean, it literally, there's 5 different types of love languages, and it is scaled based on the way that you take the quiz. Like number 1, number 2, number 3, and then number 4 would be like the bottom of the barrel. Like, I don't care for gifts. Let's just say if that's the case. Like, do you know what that looks like?
I think that if I was married to someone long term and they hadn't got me a gift, in a year, but like we went out to lunch together and we went for walks together and the movies together, or like we just talk on the phone and laugh together, that's all day long. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we talk about high level men and everything. A lot of high level men, they don't have time for none of that. So like my thing is like if he just makes the time, and it doesn't have to be all the time. And so I think that sounds weird, but I appreciate the time.
I don't think that sounds weird, but I'm wondering if it's your birthday. I'm going to give you an example. It's your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer a card, or do you prefer him taking you out to dinner? He's not going to give you like the grandiose gift, but he's just going to be like, babe, happy birthday. I love you. You're the best thing that happened in my life. Is that good enough? Or do you expect like the all around? Like, because there is levels to it. So what would you want?
So for the record, as an adult, I've never had a birthday party.
No.
Yeah.
Rachel, as an adult?
Yeah. As a child, I had tons of them.
Okay.
Both sets of family, friends, this and that. As an adult, I've had my own like girls things that I organized, or a friend of mine has organized.
Never done
but
it
from my partner, I've never had like a surprise party or like a part, like no. And now I tried to throw parties for him and stuff because I'm like, show them how you want to be treated, right? So like I would do all these things for him, and I realized I was doing these things for him because that's what I wanted, I guess.
Right.
And so then I have a memory where I'm sitting at McDonald's. I think I told you this story off camera, not so long. So I'm sitting at McDonald's. My boys were little and they wanted little nuggets or whatever. And they were little. And it was my birthday and we were sitting at McDonald's. I didn't say anything. I mean, my husband knew it was my birthday and we're just sitting there and the kids are like, oh, what are we going to do today? And then I said, yeah, I go, well, being that it's my birthday, I'm going to leave it up to Dad to see if he has any plans. And he looked at me and says, why the F would you even say that? Like, what? It's not good enough just being with us. And I said, we're at McDonald's. Like, and it wasn't like we didn't have money.
Right.
And then he was like, we're not doing SHIT, whatever. And then,
we're not doing this shit.
Yeah, sorry, YouTube. But it was like, you know, we're not doing this shit. And so I was literally like, okay. And I remember sitting there and I was trying so hard not to act sad. And then my oldest son goes, Daddy, it's her birthday. Because I used to make such a big deal about their birthdays. And he was like, wait, we have to do. He ran to the counter and was like, it's my mommy's birthday. Do you have cake? Do you have, I mean, he was so desperate. And so that ended up being kind of what triggered him his whole life. And I was probably telling my youngest son this, to always go so far out of his way for me on Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, my birthday. And so in my marriage, I didn't have that. And so I'm not remarried. And so then even in being in relationships with some guys, one in particular, he knew it was my birthday and everything. And then he was like, oh, happy birthday. And I got like a nice little message and it was like my birthday, but I was like at his, I don't even want to give too much information, but he was in a position to like bring me a cake and to do all, and he didn't do it either. And so I was kind of like, I think I'm a person that wants more. I learned to live without it.
You want to be more acknowledged.
I think when
it comes to birthdays, okay, so there's a couple of things, okay?
Yeah.
So if you're with a significant other, I think like, and this is just like the days that are very highly marketed. There's Christmas, there is Valentine's Day, there is your birthday, there is anniversary.
Yeah.
Mother's Day?
Day?
And Mother's Day, yeah. I think that those are the days that are heavily marketed. And I know that, for instance, Valentine's Day, everyone says, well, 363 other days out of the year we celebrate it. And I can see that. It sounds a little bit of a cliche also, because I can't imagine that you bring flowers to your significant other 363 days out of the whole entire year.
But also it's the easiest day of the year to just do something nice.
Right.
It's impossible to avoid buying flowers.
Right. And you know what? And it's as simple as, and I don't want to be super cheap, but like for instance, like at the dollar store, the cards are $1. How hard is it just to write, hey, just kind of wholeheartedly like let the person know that they're doing an amazing job. And the chocolate boxes there, my God, they're $1, dude.
Not the Dollar Tree chocolate. Oh, but they have some good brands. So
I'm not trying to say that's what I want, right? But I'm just saying, like, if you really think about, the people that say, well, it's not that big of a deal, like the effort is so minimal for the amount of possible like leeway that you'll have with your significant other and vice versa, right? Because I think like sometimes we expect the men to bring us flowers and do things. Like I know that sometimes like I'll be at the mall and if I'm dating someone really seriously and we went on a trip and usually I'm even with my ex-husband, like they're very generous. I'm very appreciative. Like I know they don't have to do that.
Yes.
So I will, maybe pick up a cologne,
yes.
$80, $90. So I'm just saying, like, I know maybe that's because that's kind of the language that I speak.
I think that's what it is.
I appreciate you. And I saw this cologne and I think it smells amazing on you. So I don't have an issue just like picking up a cologne or picking up a pair of board shorts. Maybe we're going to go on a trip. Like, hey, I thought these were so cute and I love them. I think they would look good on you. And it's so simple. Sometimes it's like the little things that make a world of difference. And we are women that, not that we expect it, but we're just a little bit like we're lovers by nature, I think. Usually we're lovers by nature.
Yes. And I think that's where where the thought counts. Like it's the thought that counts. Yeah. And I think that, like Delia said, you go to the Dollar Tree it's Valentine's Day. They have the cute little heart-shaped boxes for
It's
$1.
easy, yeah.
The cute little card, maybe a little trinket or candle or something. They have all that stuff there. In a little gift bag, imagine. And then it's here you go, babe. And you can recognize, it could even be a little elementary school Valentine card.
Right.
Like how cute, right? And then you go, it's the thought that counts. He spent $5. But it's the thought that counts. And
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would want a really big badass car, right? I mean, don't let me not like try to downplay this, but that's not the point. I'm saying like the acknowledgement is very simple. It doesn't have to be an expensive, exclusive, crazy gift. Like just acknowledge the person and say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate you. I love you. Like. And that whole, I get it. It's a marketed day. Like people really market this day. And so it's not about that, but I think it's just a little bit of a touch of appreciation to say, hey, I love you. Here's a card.
But it's a day that also they made it so easy for you to be to buy flowers or candy or cards or whatever, that you also don't want to be the only woman that didn't get anything. And I think that that's really hard. And I've been there. We talked about that. And I think we all have that moment. But when you get the kiss on the cheek. Happy Valentine's Day, babe. And you're like, okay, like you're like looking around the house for
I love you all year long.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
But look at the house I provided or whatever. So I think that I think you have to really be honest with yourself with what's your love language, because now that we're talking about this, I am thinking like I do like nice gestures. So I like the giving of the gift, like he gave me a gift more than the gift itself.
Okay.
So that's what I think I'm realizing right now, all the way live on the show, because if I think about the amount of gifts I've received that are sitting in jewelry boxes and in my closet that I've just never even put, used or whatever, they still make me happy in the sense of like, that was a great moment in time when he was like, open this. And I love that, the act of that more than what's in the box.
Okay, got it. Got it, yeah.
Which is kind of a unique thing. Huh? But I also like spending the time, but I also like my own time, and I like to give them their time. So I'm the kind of person I could sit next to them and just watch what they're watching and just be completely content.
But do you think it's important to know the person's love language? Because I'll tell you, I had my old neighbor that lived next door to me. He already moved, and he said, well, we were he knows I was I am still divorcee, and he would help me out. But it was so funny because he would do it when his wife wasn't there. There was nothing going on, by the way, at all. But he's like, well, what is your love language? And I said, I don't know. I'm like, why do I need to know that? And he's like, well, it's kind of important. Like, how do you connect with someone else? Like, what? He's like, I know my wife's love language, and he knew that it was like, I think it was like words of affirmation, and his was acts of kindness. It was like stuff that he would do around the house.
Oh, okay.
And so he was always really sweet. So when she would leave, like he'd fix things around my house. I'm like, wow, this is what it's like to have a man around. Granted, it was nothing going on. And I think he's the one that kind of triggered that in me. Because I never really thought that was that important. And he made it, he gave me a whole spiel about it. He's like,
really?
This is so important because you need to know who you're with and what they like. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because I've taken that test a few times, like the whole love language test. And I am telling you, it changes for me all the time. Like every time I've taken it, it's different. And I'm like, am I not feeling like I want anyone touching me? Like, I don't know. Does it change for you? Have you done that?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like multifaceted.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking I like affection and I like giving. I like being affectionate and I like receiving affection. I'm not get off of me.
Okay.
I'm definitely a cuddle bug.
So am I.
Yeah.
I'm such a cuddle bug.
Yeah, I'm a cuddle bug. I know it's not on the list, but I'm a bit of a roaster, and meaning like when you can kind of roast your partner a little bit and it's so funny. And some people do not like that whatsoever. And if they're like, oh yeah, well you freaking smell like, I don't know, whatever. Like at the end of the day, like the roasting thing to me, as long as it's truly and fun, like not like going for something that they're insecure about.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's so funny to me. And like, I feel like that's a way to connect.
Okay.
But I understand that a lot of people are like, no.
Your partner.
Yes. like making fun of them, but like they can make fun of me too, you know, like to be able to like go, what, like, you know, like I have, like I talked about the shirts, you know, being loud and like being able to go, like they walk in with a shirt that they're all proud of, you know, like the colors and Versace or something. You're like, what? They're talking to you, you're like, what? And they go, what's wrong? You can't hear me? Oh no, your shirt's kind of loud. I couldn't hear you. Like, cause your shirt's kind of loud. To me, that's like so funny. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know what that is. Like, I have a lot of family in Compton, you know, California. And when I was growing up, it was like your mama this, your mama that. And we stayed like our fun as kids.
Do you feel that makes you more bonded and connected and loved and this and that? Like, you roasted
like
Biggie,
can't you see? I mean, because like we stayed hanging out, having fun, and like roasting each other, and like oh blah blah blah, like your nose is like a Mack truck, like all these, like being able to laugh at yourself. I think is really important because it becomes this dynamic, and so I haven't met anyone yet that is okay with it. But to be able to just laugh and have fun is definitely my love language.
I think maybe you should write your own book. Maybe the 5 love languages. Maybe that's like overrated. That's so old.
Like, maybe I need like a hood version or something.
Hood version, like if he grabs your hair, that made me
like
love you.
If he smacks you on the ass, you know what I mean? Like you're walking by and he's like, whack, that means you look good. Like, that's I love you. That's a love tap.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
It's stuff like that.
I think that we are coming up with something really, really
the hood language, the love language of the hood.
What is your 5 hood languages? You're like, what? So do you like to pull hair?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, when you pull my hair, like, no, I mean, I'm just, hey, we're honest here. We're open and honest with you. So to me, it's really hard. Like when although I give that book as a gift, when women get married and couples get married, I myself am at a loss because I do think, you know, so basically I end up sitting there going, okay, well, I do prefer these kind of other weird, quirky things that don't make the list.
But we might be onto something like legit. Like I'm not just even kidding, because I always think like who came up with this and what makes them right and what makes what wrong, you know? Because again, how do you justify the fact that it's not always the same for me, and it's not always the same for me for like whomever I'm dating. So it's different for everybody, because there are people that work a lot, and so the fact that I can get a chance to be around them or like spend time with them, that's a big deal for me. This is a gift. And it just depends on who I am dating. So that could also be a change, or it could alternate the whole quiz thing. And so I don't know who the author of this book is. I know they're still alive. I think so. We might have to just
we'll knock one out for you guys at some point, put it on Amazon, that way you guys can download it. And because like legit, I like someone that can just be funny and like roast and talk that crap back and forth, like talk the shit, as they say, back and forth, and laugh at one another and laugh at ourselves. We don't have to take each other so serious. I love those love taps with just like whack, you know, like if I'm walking past them or something like that. There's all the little things. And obviously just spending time.
Because there's some people that are just really like very, you know, just quiet and to themselves, and then it's really awkward. And I think I'm an introvert / extrovert, meaning like I'm quiet until you say hi, and then I'm just like gonna attack you, like I never say hi to me, like oh, you know. And then they're like, whoa, I just sit down like you were earlier. I'm like, no, it's too late, you already unleashed the beast. And there's people that you go and you have dinner, and you have to vibe people too, though. You can't just be an extrovert if they're just sitting there quietly and they're being awkward. And so you're like, okay, so I guess now we're gonna order food. And then you're just like, okay, maybe I can break him out of his shell, because sometimes you could break people out of their shell. But you know what, at the end of the day, like, you know, when there's a connect and there's a click, when you go to dinner and you can laugh about things and you could say things, and I think everyone's effing weird, to be very forward with you, because I think I'm kind of weird myself.
Everybody has their thing.
Everyone has their own weird quirks. And I never sit there and judge people. I'm just like, oh, because that's kind of like something that's kind of weird about him that he likes. Okay, cool. Because that's part of his personality. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Exactly.
Like, okay, he's kind of weird. I know I'm kind of weird. And that's okay. Like I can kind of flow around that, you know. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything
You got to pick and
specifically.
choose, right? And go, okay, what has more value and what can you live with? There's a lot of
Right.
things that I know about certain people that I wasn't on my list of things that I would have preferred.
Right.
But I can grow old with someone that does those things or has that trait. Like
Right.
that's where you have to go, okay, is it like a total deal breaker? I don't think so. But when we're talking in terms of love languages, yeah, I think that it goes beyond the pages of those books.
Right.
And really, exploring that about yourself. And then also not expecting them to read our minds and
Oh my
just
gosh.
know we have to communicate. Like, so it's like rewarding the behavior. When
Right.
when you're raising kids, if they do a good job, or you're training a pet and you go, good
Right.
job, right, with the treats. You got to do stuff like that with your partner
Right.
so that they understand the signals of like when they did a good job. So I had a partner that made me coffee every morning. It was like he ran the coffee pot and he knew exactly how to make my coffee, and we would sit and we would have coffee together every morning before we started our day. And I didn't think anything of it
Okay.
until afterwards, and people were like, wait, your husband makes you coffee every morning? And then I was like, yeah, is that not a, and they were like, oh, and then I realized, oh, well, I love coffee. Do you not like coffee? So I didn't know what to say. But to me, it's like those little things. I admit there's been a lot of times where I didn't show gratitude.
Okay.
I just took it and never was like, thank you, babe. I didn't make a big deal. It was just like, oh, good morning, thanks, whatever. I was putting my makeup on, he's making the coffee. We have to sometimes remember he's doing that because that's maybe his love language.
Yeah. So it's so funny. That literally triggered a thought because there is a therapist and she's. Maybe I could just probably link her on the bio because it doesn't matter. We can give her props for this. But she's a therapist and she was talking about how she was giving therapy to a couple and they were married for like 10 plus years, and the husband always went out of his way, and I guess there was a specific kind of coffee with a specific kind of sugar that she wanted, and every time she'd go to the cupboard there was always like
It was restocked and everything.
restocked for like 10 years. And there started to become there was a little bit of issues. And she says that the moment she realized there was a big issue is when it was that coffee and that sugar was no longer in the cupboard because he no longer cared
Wow.
to go buy it. And so it triggered it was like this epiphany, this moment of like, there was an aha moment for me because a lot of the time we think nothing of it. Like, I'll give you an example. Maybe at the beginning, your husband opened the door for you or closed the door. Or maybe he, I don't know, made reservations and now he's not making reservations. He's letting you do it. And so you think it's nothing, but in reality, maybe there's something disconnecting. And I think that's what the therapist said, that's when she knew something it was over.
We have to remember that we have to show the appreciation, acknowledge it. We like to be acknowledged. So if they're doing something that you appreciate it might be not exactly what you would choose as his way of showing you love, but you appreciate what he's doing. Then if that's waking up early on a Sunday to mow the lawn or whatever, babe, I love that you do that.
Yeah.
And even if you don't do it all the time or whatever, but like those moments of like letting him know, because I know I'm guilty of not showing the appreciation for something that I thought was simple as, well, I'm putting my makeup on, so he's at the coffee pot first. Like, and it wasn't. It was like, he made his wife coffee every morning. And, and so now I look back going, okay, like that was something.
Are you like, no one makes me coffee?
Yeah, no.
I gotta go downstairs
now I gotta make my own coffee, So that's just something to think about. But I think everybody has their own version of the love languages. We wanted to talk to you about that.
No, and I think also, and this is kind of going on a tangent, but kind of cute in my opinion, like love language-ish, kind of. What I've always thought was really cool is like, like how your husband would bring you, coffee, because you're getting ready. I think sometimes we can flip it and you could be the one to bring breakfast in bed. Like, like the whole breakfast in bed kind of thing,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be all the time. Maybe like every once in a while you can do that. And then I think that gets the ball going where he's now like, oh, well, maybe I'll bring her breakfast in bed. I don't know. It just depends on what your love language is. Again, for me, it always changes. So I always question whether or not it's an accurate book. But I think that for Rachel, she needs to write a hood one. Like
the hood one, yeah.
Smack that ass.
Oh my God. Okay, well, we're gonna leave you with that whole version love language stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
What happened was we were drinking too much time with tequila. Delia is going out of hand now, but I'm just saying.
Stay tuned. To be continued.
The, what is it, Compton version? Of
Oh my God, the hood. Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and tag a friend. Spread the word. This algorithm doesn't work by itself. We gotta have you guys help us out with that. So stay tuned to the very end. You're gonna hear a wonderful mantra from us with some soft music. You can screenshot it. If you're driving and listen to this podcast, you can look at the show notes and it is right there for you.
So,
have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.